Hi, everyone. Dan Eisner here from ZLC Employee Benefits Solution, working hard to find better ways for employee benefits by partnering with finance and HR leaders and leveraging my 20 years of experience as an employee benefits advisor and my skills as the only chartered professional accountant working in this role in the local market. Thanks for joining me today to talk about employee benefits inflation for 2022. There's a lot of talk about inflation right now, particularly consumer inflation at 6, 7, 8%, and rightfully so. The only issue is for employee benefits, 6, 7, 8% inflation has been the norm for a number of years. But given the heightened attention around inflation, I thought it would be good to dust off this topic and talk a bit about it, even though we're deep into 2022. This discussion is going to be a bit of a precursor for what's coming in 2023, and we'll have those projections out for you in the fall. So at ZLC, we're very proud to be providing annual employee benefits inflation updates to our clients, and we've done that for a number of years. And we're very proud about getting those out, usually in about November, so that our clients have them in time for doing their budgeting for the coming year. So this year was a little bit different in that we actually updated our inflation projection in February. And that's because some stuff happened around dental plans, and we'll talk about that in a second. And going forward, our projections have been pretty accurate for what we've seen during the year. So always like to hear what you have to say and want to know what you want to learn more about. So be sure to like, follow, and hit that subscribe button to be notified about other podcasts to come. So let's get started. So the issue of inflation continues to be significant for employee benefits, because there's continuing pressure on businesses to keep these plans in place. Employees place a lot of value on benefits plans when they're choosing an employer and when choosing to stay with an employer. And employees also have a super high entitlement mentality towards receiving them. So actual historical inflation levels have been about 6% a year for the last 20 years. And our projections have been pretty close from year to year. But most importantly, these are higher than what you see in normal consumer inflation, CPI levels. So let's jump into each individual component of employee benefits and talk about what we're seeing, for 2022. So life insurance. So for the majority of Canadian companies, life insurance is being driven by changes in the Canadian demographics and what the insurers are seeing inside of their overall rates and experience. And the Canadian population continues to age, and that's likely going to continue for another decade, while the baby boomers exit the workforce. We haven't seen COVID present any pressures around life insurance. So we're probably seeing life insurance moving at a more relatively modest 3 to 5% a year. So with long-term disability insurance, we're seeing the same kind of pressure, with the aging population on the rates, but we've seen a lot of additional pressure around mental health issues over the last decade, and COVID has actually, further exacerbated that. Now, COVID itself has yet to really impact long-term disability rates. We've yet to see an approved long COVID claim in Canada, but COVID has indirectly really messed up long-term disability. Backlogs in hospitals, unable to get in for surgeries to deal with minor situations, return to work situations mired by, COVID adjust workforce strategies, really has put pressure on long-term disability rates. And we've seen a lot of carriers in the market adding an additional 8% trend factor to account for that. So for long-term disability, we're seeing 8 to 12% as being kind of the annual adjustment for 2022. So extended health, arguably the biggest piece of the benefits puzzle and the piece that's most valued by employees, that too is under consistent pressure. What I call the perfect storm. Perfect storm is we've got more employees using these plans, using them more often and for different things, and the average cost for that usage is going up, particularly around high-cost drug medications. So question often comes up on COVID, how has that impacted extended health plans? And the costs of COVID medications and stuff have largely been picked up by the federal government. But what we have seen was we saw a fall off where a majority of employees didn't, continue going to see the paramedical practitioners early in the pandemic, but they've now got confidence to go back for those services with, vaccines being developed. So it's normalizing, but normalizing for extended health still means about 8 to 12% inflation per year. So the big surprise for this year was dental inflation. Now, dental inflation, let's put this into perspective, for the past decade is usually run at about 6 to 8% a year. The dental fee guides go up, it costs more to do the procedures, but dentists have also done a really good job of marketing new and additional services. But COVID really messed up the industry, and at the beginning of the pandemic, most people didn't want to go and see their dentist. During that time, their needs obviously went up, and when they finally felt confident to go back to seeing the dentist, they're now seeing them for more expansive treatments and often more expensive treatments. But what really caused us to revisit our inflation projections earlier this year is when the dental fee guides came out. And BC in particular, the fee guides went up by 7.35% for 2022. Historically, we've seen fee guides go up 2.5%, 3.5% a year. So this was a really big wallop. Other provinces weren't as extreme as BC, but pretty close. We had another province at 7%, and most of the provinces were 5 to 6%. So unfortunately, that's pushed our projection for dental inflation to 9 to 13% for 2022. So when you put those big benefit areas together, it's really just some simple math, because life insurance accounts for about 5 to 10% of the bill, long-term disability insurance accounts for about 15 to 20, health 40 to 45%, and dental 30 to 35%. So when you put those individual projections for each benefit area together and weight it out for an average plan in Canada, we're coming up with a projection that we think is about 9% for 2022. And we've kind of advised our clients that, look, your situations may vary. You may have a younger, healthier population, or the exact opposite. So we're talking about ranges of 7 to 12%. We just really don't want any of our clients ever to put like a 3% inflation assumption in there, and then at the end of the year, have some really bad news. Rather see you put a more reasonable number in there that's going to be more realistic. And if we're lucky and inflation comes below, at least you have a positive budget variance to follow up on. So these numbers are important, particularly if you're doing multi-year business planning. As I said, we've updated our numbers for 2022, but we expect to have our 2023 forecast out later this year, typically in early November. Okay, so now you've heard my thoughts and opinions. I need to know what you think. Was this advice helpful? Are you getting this type of information from your current advisor? If so, how do our thoughts compare to what they're telling you? If not, why not? And if you're not getting this type of information, where are you going to get this so that you can put realistic budgets together around your employee benefits costs going forward? So I'd love to see your comments in the comments section on this. As well, I'm really interested to know, what are the other topics that you'd like to hear me speak to and cover in future podcasts? Let me know what's bothering you, keeping you awake at night with respect to your employee benefits plan. So again, thanks for joining me today. Please be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for a notification on the next video podcast. As well, you can follow me on my LinkedIn business page, and that information will come up on the screen in a second. Thanks so much.